There are 4 secret events hidden inside Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver, so obscure that you've probably never experienced them. And even if you did, there are deeper layers to these events that only reveal themselves under very specific circumstances.
From sacrificing your own Pokémon to a choice that can quietly lock away an entire side of a legendary forever. Today we're uncovering Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver's most obscure in-game events and the choices within them that decide what most players never get to see.
Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver are packed with moments that make the world feel rich and full of secrets. Events that spring up naturally as you explore, appear only when you take specific actions, or reveal themselves when you dive deeper into the postgame. But beyond those moments are secret events hidden far out of reach. They're locked behind limited time distributions and were only available through Wi-Fi downloads or by traveling to select real-world locations. Sometimes only available for a single day. These one-of-a-kind gifts arrive with obscure clues and subtle hints that something more was waiting to be discovered. But if you followed the advice that came with the first Pokémon on our list, then you'd be making a grave mistake. In the winter of 2011, depending on where you lived, you had only a handful of days to obtain a special Fateful Encounter Celebi from a few real-world locations. As expected, it arrived in a Cherish Ball and held the Rager Berry, an item that damages opposing Pokémon for making physical contact. But the real secret wasn't the item, it was hidden in the Wonder Card itself.
If you actually took the time to read it, you'd find a cryptic message hinting at secrets of the past and the future, along with explicit instructions to transfer your newly obtained Celebi into Pokémon Black and White, because that's where those secrets were waiting to be uncovered. And while that is true, if you rush to follow those instructions, you'd be missing out on a completely unique side story in Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver, one that only this Pokémon can unlock. By taking Celebi to the shrine in Ilex Forest, you and your friend, Ethan or Lyra, are suddenly whisked back in time by Celebi itself. There, you uncover a massive revelation. Not only is your rival Silver Giovanni's son, but his defeat in the original Pokémon games is what caused him to abandon Silver entirely, setting him down a path where power became the only thing that mattered. Once again, Celebi hurls you through time, and now you come face to face with Giovanni himself in a small cave. It's revealed that he's been contacted by his former organization via the radio and plans to rejoin them in a final attempt to take over the world, before turning to you and issuing a challenge. After his defeat, Giovanni finally realizes the pointlessness of his ambitions. He abandons his plans and disappears for good.
Celebi then returns you to your own time, and for most players, that's where the story ends. But hidden beneath are more layers that only appear if you make choices the game never encourages. You might assume that once Wi-Fi distributions entered the picture, any Pokémon could eventually make its way into the game if Game Freak ever felt like it. But there's hard evidence that shows one gift Pokémon was completely off limits. In Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver, the only way to ever obtain a shiny Celebi is through cheating. And interestingly enough, it behaves normally, passes all checks, and can even trigger the Ilex Forest time travel event without issue. But that's where something very strange happens. The moment Celebi activates its time traveling powers, it briefly reverts to its original green colors as the cutscene plays out. And that detail says everything, because this isn't a bug or a visual glitch. It means the possibility of obtaining a shiny Celebi was never even accounted for in the first place. Long before the game had ever released, Game Freak had already swept shiny Celebi off the table entirely, and it wouldn't officially make an appearance until over 8 years later.
Although Celebi's color may be set in stone, your choices during this event are not. And depending on what you do next, the story can play out in ways almost no one ever sees. With only 4 Pokémon, all lower level than your newly obtained event Celebi, most experienced battlers will have no trouble defeating Giovanni. But if you allow your Celebi to faint during this fight, it creates a unique problem. With your time-traveling partner knocked out, you're effectively trapped in the past. And remarkably, the story actually accounts for it. Ethan, or Lyra, steps in, acknowledges what happened and uses a max revive to bring Celebi back. Only then can it send you safely back to your own time. However, if you lose the battle entirely, Giovanni proceeds with his plan to rejoin Team Rocket. With the last of its strength, Celebi sends you back in time before any of these events took place. Nothing will have changed, except that if you interact with Celebi before trying again, it makes it clear that it isn't happy with how things turned out. Since you teleport in and out of the cave where Giovanni hides during this event, it's easy to assume that this area was specifically created for it. However, this location actually exists hidden in the overworld, and you can find it again later concealed between Johto and Kanto in the Tojo Falls, tucked away behind the waterfall.
But in what might be one of the game's biggest missed opportunities, discovering this secret area results in absolutely nothing. No cutscene, no dialogue, not even an item to pick up. It did, however, allow us to make a pretty convincing April Fool's video. It's clear that the Ilex Forest Shrine is a pretty special place, and Celebi's time-traveling encounter is actually only one of the secrets hidden within it. Strangely enough, it isn't even the first, because before HeartGold and SoulSilver had even released, another mystery tied to this very shrine had already begun, in a completely different game. In the Generation 4 counterparts, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, players received a very unusual event Pokémon in the form of a Pichu, with the colours of Pikachu. But unlike a normal shiny Pichu, this one was a little bit different. It came in a Cherish Ball, was met in a fateful encounter like a mythical Pokémon, but most importantly, its Wonder Card hinted at something more. It claimed that if you traded this Pichu to the upcoming Pokémon games, you might meet a special friend. And once HeartGold and SoulSilver finally released, that promise could finally be tested.
The moment you traded the Pikachu-colored Pichu into Johto, nothing triggers right away. There's no notification or prompt, but once you reached Ilex Forest, the game finally reveals what that Wonder Card was hinting at all along. Suddenly, from the shrine emerges a second Pichu, but one unlike anything players had ever seen before. After the two Pichu finish playing, an elderly man appears, warning you of the dangers that come with tampering Celebi's shrine and that this Pichu has been here for a very long time, after which you can choose to let it join your party. With its unique look and peculiar moves like Swagger and the ghost-type move Pain Split, the Spiky-eared Pichu is one of the rarest Pokémon to exist in a mainline Pokémon title, appearing only in Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver to this day. And there's a very specific reason why.
If you bring the Spiky-eared Pichu to Professor Elm, you'll unlock a special conversation where he studies it and comes to a disturbing conclusion. This Pichu has travelled so far through time alongside Celebi, it's become unstable and is effectively immortal. Because of this, Elm determines that it can no longer evolve, and that attempting to trade it could be incredibly dangerous. He then takes it a step further, calling every Pokémon Center to permanently ban the Spiky-eared Pichu from being traded at all. As a result, it's never been able to leave its original game, and is the only Pokémon to this day to never receive a 3D model within the core series. Even the dedicated Gen 4 battle simulator Pokémon Battle Revolution displays it as just a regular Pichu. However, there's still one more question left to answer. When you first receive the Pikachu-coloured Pichu, a quick look at its summary screen reveals that it's holding an Everstone, deliberately preventing it from evolving. But what happens if you remove the Everstone and evolve it before taking it to Ilex Forest? Well, unlike the Celebi event, you'll be happy to know this possibility was actually accounted for, and the event will still play out even if you've evolved it into a Pikachu, or even a Raichu.
But not every mystery gift in Generation 4 arrived as a Pokémon. Some came in the form of items, keys meant to unlock secret in-game events. And while many of them never even saw the light of day, the Enigma Stone wound up becoming the first and only event item that got officially distributed in Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver. Described as a crystal ball excavated from the ground, the Enigma Stone simply sits in your bag, with no apparent use. In fact, its true nature won't even reveal itself unless you've already become Pokémon Champion and obtained the National Pokédex. But once those requirements are met, a very special guest can be found visiting the Pewter City Museum by presenting the Enigma Stone to Hoenn's champion, Steven Stone. He has a researcher examine it, only for them to discover that it is actually the Soldew, the signature held item of the Eon duo Latios and Latios. And while one of these Pokémon can already be found roaming the region during the post-game, the Soldew summons the other directly to Pewter City, initiating a battle on the spot and giving you a chance to capture the other Eon Pokémon.
But the real prize of this event is arguably the Soldew itself. In this generation, when it's held by Latias or Latios, it boosts their stats to levels so high that they actually surpass what even their Mega Evolutions would achieve more than 5 years later. And as powerful as that discovery is, nothing compares to what comes next. Because HeartGold and SoulSilver save their final secret not for a single Pokémon, but for the creation of the entire Pokémon world. In 2010, to coincide with the release of Arceus and the Jewel of Life, the Pokémon Company held a series of real-world distributions for a special Arceus. And in most cases, players only had 1 day to attend. While this Arceus uniquely possessed all the signature moves of the Creation Trio, its true significance came from what those moves symbolized.
If you brought this event Arceus to Johto and tried to enter the Ruins of Alph Research Center, the lead archaeologist would stop you in your tracks. He insists you follow him into the ruins, and the deeper you go, the stranger it becomes. The symbols on the walls feel different, as if the ruins themselves recognize what's standing beside you. Then, the screen fades black. When it returns, you and Arceus are no longer in Johto. You've been transported to the Sinjoh Ruins, a frozen land where Sinnoh and Johto meet. A passing hiker remarks how unusual it is to see someone so young here, before explaining that this place exists at the crossroads of two cultures.
Inside a nearby cabin, you can find the champion of the Sinnoh region, Cynthia, waiting. She immediately senses the power coming from your Pokeball. This isn't just a powerful Pokemon, it's one of the Pokemon of myth. She immediately leads you to the heart of the ruins, the mystery stage. Here you're asked to stand alone, and only Arceus may remain in your party. Cynthia explains the meaning of the symbols carved into the stone. 3 outer circles representing the rulers of time, space, and antimatter, and 1 central circle reserved for their creator. You're then given a choice: Dialga, Palkia, or Giratina. As Arceus steps forward, the unknown gather. The sky splits into images of stars and galaxies. The stage's pattern begins to glow behind Arceus, and we get a close-up of its face followed by an image of the Earth. Then an egg appears, and from nothing, the legendary you chose materializes before you.
Cynthia can barely put into words what you've just witnessed, and just as suddenly as the event began, you're returned to the Ruins of Alph, where the archaeologist is left stunned by your disappearance and your return. Now you can check your party to examine the newly born member of the Creation Trio holding its signature orb. They appear at level 1 with the unique met location of the Sinjoh Ruins, and there's even a chance they can appear as a shiny. But what really makes the Sinjoh Ruins event so extraordinary isn't what happens on screen. It's just how far back it actually reaches and how much more there is to discover. Because this event doesn't truly end here. In fact, it begins years earlier in Pokémon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum.
Arceus was always meant to be the center of Sinnoh's mythology. Its plates were everywhere. Its legends were written into the fabric of the region itself. But the one place it was meant to be encountered was locked away. The Azure Flute. Perhaps the most notorious event-exclusive item in Pokémon history was designed to lead players to Arceus in the whole of Origin. And yet, it was never officially distributed. For most of us, this version of Arceus would only exist as rumors and legends. But HeartGold and SoulSilver were built as if you'd already caught it. Because hidden within these games is a second Sinjoh Ruins event.
If you take the Hall of Origin Arceus back to the Ruins of Alph, without any introduction or warning, you'll be transported once again to the Sinjoh Ruins. And if you returned here with one of the legendary Pokémon you already obtained, you may notice something if you take the time to interact with them. Both it and Arceus trigger a special interaction, stopping to let out a cry towards the sky. Inside the nearby cabin, the hiker explains that Cynthia has returned to the Sinnoh region, pulled away by her responsibilities as champion. Despite her absence, the task remains unchanged. Bring the Hall of Origin Arceus to the mystery stage and you'll once again be asked to choose a legendary Pokémon from the remaining 2, before being sent back to the ruins of Alph. And it's here, standing among those ancient ruins, that a haunting realization begins to set in.
The choice you make at the mystery stage isn't just about the Pokémon you walk away with, and depending on your decision, you may be unknowingly locking yourself out of something far more important. While all 3 legends come with their own unique orbs, one-of-a-kind items that boost their power, only one of them comes with something else entirely. If you brought your event Arceus here and failed to choose Giratina during this one-time encounter, you would never be able to access its origin form in HeartGold and SoulSilver. The Greasius orb cannot be found anywhere, and it can't be traded over from the Sinnoh region either. One choice, and an entire side of a legendary Pokémon gone forever. One of the more surprising facts that we've recently discovered is that only 5.6% of you that regularly watch our shorts and videos are subscribed to the channel.
So could we ask you a favor? If you like what we're doing and you want to support us, the free and simple way you can do that is by liking the video and hitting subscribe. And if you want to see more, then please consider giving us a slap on the back by supporting us on Patreon or as a YouTube member. You'll get sneak peeks at our upcoming videos and be featured in the credits of each one.
And since you've made it this far, we've got a question for you. What do you think would have happened if Celebi couldn't bring you back? And why do you think Game Freak made a Pokémon that could never leave its original game? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.